Hello, scientist Dominique here, and today we are going to do an experiment. This experiment is going to answer the question,
how can a college student get coffee for free?
What me and my sister are going to do is we're going to go to Dutch Bros and we're going to bring them Chick-fil-A, which is, who doesn't like Chick-fil-A? Only vegans, right? But we're going to bring them Chick-fil-A and we're going to see if they're more apt to give us free drinks since we have something for them. In order to find the answer to this question, we have to follow the 7 steps of the scientific process. Step number 1 is your question. We already have our question. Now we're going to come up with a hypothesis. My hypothesis is that if I bring a Dutch Bros employee a treat, then I will get something of equal or lesser value for free. After we have our question and our hypothesis, which is what we think is going to happen, then we're going to carry out our experiment. For this experiment, the type of research I'm going to be making is observations. So I have been going to Dutch Bros and seeing which employees are nicer, friendlier, give me extra stamps. I've made a relationship with them, so they're more easily persuaded because they know me or they recognize me. So that's the type of research I've been doing for this project. Then comes step number 4, which is the actual experiment. So in a second, I'll show you what it looks like when we go to Dutch Bros and we try to get our drinks for free, giving them Chick-fil-A. Was us carrying out the experiment, and our next step is going to be our observations in what we observed when we carried out the experiment. So what we found when we did the experiment was somebody who has a relationship with us is more likely to give us something for free if we do bring them something in return of equal or lesser value. So in our case, we did bring them Chick-fil-A, and we saw that right away they wanted to give us something in return. So using our observations, we can come up with the conclusion or the results that show that they are more persuaded when we have something to give them that's worth something. So after our results, and the conclusion was if we bring Dutch Bros workers a treat, then they are more likely to give us our drink for equal or lesser value for free. Now that we have all 6 steps, our last step is to communicate our results. And the reason we communicate our results is so that people who also are broke college students can find out ways to get their drinks for free if they do the same thing for them. Now that we've finished our experiment, I want to talk to you about the difference between a hypothesis, a theory, and a law. They kind of increase in that same particular order. So first, what makes a law usually is that a law is something that's never changing and is always the same anywhere, any place, anytime. But a hypothesis is a statement that says what you think is going to happen based on limited information. So usually this is, one of the first steps of the scientific process. So it hasn't necessarily been proven yet. And now a theory is using not so limited information, but more proven information to come up with an idea that can later be explained. So theories are not laws because they're just somebody's thoughts based on a good amount of evidence, but it's not proven to be the same anywhere true for all occasions, which is what a law is. An example of a theory is that when the sun is shining, then it is brighter outside. So that's a theory because it could be based on your observations that you've seen, but it isn't necessarily a law because there are ifs, ands, or buts, and there are certain occasions where that isn't true or could be true, could be subjective. An example of a law is gravity. So gravity works wherever you're at, anytime, any place, anywhere. Gravity is true for everything, and it's always going to be true. So that's a law. There is a difference between inductive and deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning is based on quantitative information and can start from a theory. Inductive reasoning, you're going to start with data, and it's going to be more qualitative research done. Now you know the answer to the question of if you can get free things by going to Dutch Bros and having them and giving them something else in return. You also know the difference between inductive and deductive reasoning, and you also know the 7 steps to the scientific process, as well as the difference between a theory, a law, and a hypothesis.